Now, hear me out before I start a war in the comments. We're getting closer and closer to Black Ops 7, and I know today, on the 19th, the reveal trailer came out. Me personally, after playing COD over and over for literally over like 15 years at this point, I've literally grown up playing Call of Duty. I've played every single one practically up to this point. So basically, I feel like we are Call of Duty's problem. The reason why I say this is because, we kind of know the Call of Duty cycle. Call of Duty comes out, we get hyped, we see the trailers, we get hyped, the game comes out, we enjoy it. Some time passes, we kind of shit on it for a while, and then we're kind of like, you know what, this game was trash. And then, we end up going back to the other COD, and then we kind of end up appreciating that the COD before that was better than the COD that we got. And then it becomes this whole cycle where we just said that the COD before this was basically slept on and underrated, and the COD that we got now is basically trash, and that we need to. But here's where I find the problem. So we go through this cycle. We kind of, at this point, everyone who plays Call of Duty at this point, we kind of know this cycle. We know exactly what it's going to be, the time frame, and how long it takes for us to kind of see these cycles and to see like the way these things go. And then not only that, but then we end up seeing like another game that kind of seems like it's going to come up to par with Call of Duty. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But like in this case, like in this instant, it's Battlefield 6. Like a lot of people are saying that this Battlefield 6 is going to be better than the COD. But for some reason, I have a feeling that's not going to be the case if that's where the cycle kind of begins, because that's because realistically those games end up being cool for a little bit too, and then and it turns out they end up losing the entire fan base within like the first 3 months of the game coming out, and that's kind of another problem for another time. Us Call of Duty players and us fans, or whatever you want to call us, here's where I think the problem is, and why I think that we are the problem. Not Call of Duty necessarily, say to say, because Black Ops 6, yes, it had a lot of problems. Yes, it probably wasn't the best as all previous Call of Duties that we played, and yes, it had like a lot of brain rot, the skins, and it had its problems or whatever, right? Realistically, it wasn't the worst game I've played, but it also wasn't the best, but it wasn't like completely trash where I feel like, okay, this game has like, there's no coming back from this, right? I don't think the game entirely was trash. I mean, if I were to rate it out of a scale out of 10, I would give it maybe like a 6 or a 7, which I mean typically isn't too bad, and I feel like we've had worse Call of Duties back in the past, especially like Infinite Warfare, Ghost. So anyways, moving forward, the problem is I think as Call of Duty fans and as Call of Duty players is that we're trying to chase a high, and I think that's where the problem stems from. I don't think that the fact that we think these games are horrible, because I mean realistically every game has their problems, and especially like these older Call of Duties, they've had worse problems than what we deal with today. And I'm not saying like these games are perfect or these games are the best or anything like that, but I'm just saying like we've had worse Call of Duties and worse than what we have now. Not only that, but then we know the cycle too. I think it's more of like we're just trying to get new experiences, new memories, and we're kind of just trying to think like, take MW19 as an example, right? Like during that time, COVID was happening, everybody was playing. There's a lot of memories. Everybody literally just got up and played video games with their friends. There was a lot of things to do, a lot of memories to be made, a lot of different experiences. You're able to explore, expand more. And realistically, that game at the time was brand new, with the movement. But realistically, the game was trash.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
Like, let's be honest. Like, 2019, the game was bad. Like the whole camping. There was no mini map. Everybody didn't want to move out of corners. But I think the only difference is that it was the experience. We're able to experience it with our friends. The lockdown was happening, so everyone was just playing video games. We're trying to find within these new games. I don't think it's realistically the games that are that bad. I just think it's the experience, and that's where I feel like, and that's why I'm saying that as Call of Duty players, we're just chasing the high. I mean, realistically, like now, a lot of people complain about like these blueprints and stuff. Which I mean, if I was you, I would not buy any of these blueprints that Treyarch or try to sell to you. They are super expensive, useless, and you don't ever get anything. You don't get a bang for your buck. But even in like previous Call of Duties, we had the entire COD points and supply drops thing, which I feel like was literally worse because some of those were literally paid to win, which I feel like is a bigger problem back then than it was now. I just feel like now, like, yes, Call of Duty has lost its roots and it's more of like a Fortnite thing now, and I feel like that's kind of just the recipe for every single game at this point. But it's kind of the same thing how it was back then, where when supply drops was out, that was kind of what every single game was doing. I mean, you've seen that with FIFA, You've seen that with whatever other game that implemented the whole supply drop and opening crates and things. There was literally people on YouTube making 30-minute videos of them spending hard-earned money on opening crates. Like that is literally mind-blowing to me to this day, where now like someone pays $30 and where they just showcase like exactly what you're getting in that bundle. And obviously, I don't I don't agree to this. I wouldn't say go spend all your money on this because I mean it's super expensive and the stuff that you get is not even worth it. But as a Call of Duty fan and a Call of Duty player, and I would say a Call of Duty veteran, we are Call of Duty's problem. I mean, yes, Call of Duty and Activision, they have their problems with not listening to, the community and whatnot. But I feel like as a community and as a whole, we really don't know exactly what it is that we want. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of feel like we struggle to say what we want. And I feel like reality, we just don't know what we want. Because I feel like even if we were to make a if the community was given a chance to make a Call of Duty exactly how they wanted it, I feel like within 3 to 6 months, we would be tired of it. We would not be happy with it. We would still complain. We would still say this game is trash. This game isn't how we wanted it to be, and yada yada yada. Yes, it's some of Call of Duty's problems, and yes, it's kind of Activision's problems for the brain rot mess that they pull out.
What do you mean by that?
But I feel like as a community, we don't know what we want. We do not know what type of game that we want. We don't know what we're looking for in a game because realistically, we've had like COD Online, like the Chinese version, where it's like all the great CODs from every single COD put into one, like all the great things that come from those Call of Duties put into one. And why isn't that game as populated? And I understand it's a PC game and you have to do a bunch of exploits to get the game and whatever to like download it and to get the files. And then if you do play, you're playing on like a bunch of Chinese servers, which is like you play on horrible ping. And it's kind of like the same thing with like COD Mobile, and it's not as popular. Maybe a lot of people will not relate or get where I'm coming from. I don't think realistically, if we were given the chance to make a good Call of Duty, we would know exactly what to do or even what to make or even what to implement. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, it's gonna be a constant cycle. I don't think it's gonna break anytime soon, or anything, unless for some reason we're able to just get past this whole brain rot thing, and us as Call of Duty fans just stop the complaining as a whole. Because I'm the same way. I literally complain. I literally talk shit about the game. And I say the same thing. Well, if I was given a chance to make the game, this is what I would do. But realistically, if I was given the chance, I don't think I would know. I don't think I would know what to do, anyways. Maybe to some extent I would, but even then, within time, I'm just gonna complain about how bad the game is, even though I made it. So that's all I have for you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I read every comment. I try to reply to every single comment to the best of my ability. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.